Welcome back to All Chat, episode 18, the only League of Legends Esports podcast brought to you by fans for fans that covers all four major regions every week. As always, my name is Jack Dawes. I'm joined by Grayson Yada. Let's talk about some League of Legends.
Oh yeah, so hyped. We got MSI, finished up. We've taken a little bit of a break, a little bit of a hiatus here. It's been probably 3 weeks since we recorded and uploaded, but we had some personal stuff going on, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just glad to be back here and talk about some League
It's
with
so
you,
good to
Jack.
be back. Okay,
And
cool.
we're back, baby. Yes, sir.
So we missed out on a big portion of MSI, but so many good games.
Yeah.
Man. The new format is so sick. I love the what is it called? The double elim.
Elim. Yeah.
It just makes for such a better tournament.
I know. And it makes it longer. You get to see more games. You get to see more matchups that you want to see.
And you get to see like matchups and games between teams that you actually like care about and like play. Like, the longer you play in the tournament is based off how good you are at the game. So you get to see more better games. You know?
Oh yeah. The games were fire towards the end of the tournament for sure. Like,
so sick.
G2 was turning a lot of heads,
What do you think is going to happen with this G2 roster now? Because did you see the whole BB thing that just happened?
No. What did I miss?
Oh no, it's nothing bad. It's a good thing.
Oh, okay.
They just renewed BB's contract, which I guess he was like the only one who wasn't set to renew for, I don't know. I guess the rest of them are like renewed through next year or something, and he was the only one who was like, it was going to be cut off, I think after this last split or something, or maybe at the end of the year. I don't know. They just renewed it, so he's going to come back for longer. But they made like a huge deal out of it, and they actually surprised him. They got him and the rest of the G2 guys all dressed up, and they pretended that they were going to do another Top Father video where he's in like the suit and he's got like, the whole like Godfather spoof thing that G2 does. Yeah. They got him all dressed up to do that. And then they like brought him down to where they were shooting the video, and it was just like a ton of his friends and family. And then they, the leadership of G2 came in and were like, we're renewing your contract. We've loved working with you. And then like a bunch of other pro players that he's like been friends with and on other teams. So like Abadage, Yankos, Flacked, like a bunch of people sent in videos where they were like, congrats on getting renewed. Like it was wild, like how big of a deal they made it, but it was like really cool to watch. It makes me think that they might be just like perma running it back. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think with the core that they have, like all five of them is a core, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we've brought this up before. I've brought it up. Like T1 did the exact same thing, right? Where they ran it back for multiple years now, right? This is like their third year basically together.
I think that's right. Isn't it like 2.5 years now or something?
Yeah.
Maybe it's 3. Yeah.
Yeah. I think they're going in, like they just completed 2.5 after this MSI, right? So, I mean, the best teams, they have a core group of guys. Like you can see GEN.G, obviously it's more of a one guy thing.
More the Chovy show.
Yeah, it's the Chovy show, but it was Chovy Ruler, right? And now it's Chovy Pays, right? Those are the guys that they kind of built around.
Yeah.
And I think G2, they got this whole thing going. They, as long as they can keep performing internationally and like get more experience on the international stage as a group, I think that's all they need, because they showed out at MSI, if I'm being honest.
Oh yeah.
They were pretty fucking sick. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, it was the first time that I'm going to get this fact a little bit wrong, but they 3-0'd Top Esports, which is, I think, the first time that they've beat an Eastern team in like 4 years. And they 3-0'd them, which is crazy. And then they had that super close series against T1 too, their first series where they lost 3-2 or whatever. So it's so hard because obviously they're shooting to like win MSI. It's not like, it gets harder and harder, I feel like, every year, but the goal of this roster is to dominate domestically and then perform internationally and get to the point where they can actually contest for international titles. Yeah. And they have a roster now that's like, how do you upgrade this G2 roster? Yeah. So it makes sense that they keep running it back. And I'm on board with it. I love seeing these teams that are actually renewing, because that really hasn't been a thing in the league scene for a long time. This T1 and G2 rosters, the fact that they keep like re-upping, renewing these contracts, I'm actually all for it.
Mm-hmm.
I like seeing teams stick together and grow together. I think that's sick.
Yeah, I think like the only way that you can get better is by adding a piece that one complements your team and is a better player than the one that you're replacing, right? And I think with G2, there's no one domestically that can replace any one of those players.
Yeah.
And you see it all the time with different teams. They try one or the other. They try to find a piece that complements their team better. They try to find a player that's better than someone else currently on their roster, and it blows up in their face. So I think the longer that they can go on with this group, they're going to start seeing those actual results. Obviously, they've done well at Worlds last year. They did well at MSI this year, and I think it's only going to get better. Like they're just going to keep climbing, which I'm hoping, because there's a lot of Eastern dominance for sure in the league scene, right? And I'd love to see a little more parity coming from other regions.
I would too, and that's a big part of why I'm on board with keeping this G2 roster around. I think teams are I'm hoping, I don't know if I even think this, I'm hoping that teams are starting to see that how a roster interacts and like what kind of synergy the players has is actually important, and that it's not purely a skill thing. I know how important individual skill is in the game, but I feel like every time you see a roster that tries to make changes based on like individual skill improvements without taking consideration for synergy, like exactly what you just were talking about, it blows up in their faces. It doesn't work. So I think you're right. I think this G2 roster, there isn't going to be a better synergy piece that slots in. Like, I don't think you can find anyone who's going to slot into this roster and fit better than what they currently have, which would mean they would have to have a significant skill increase. And they already have pretty high skill players in all their roles. I know that you can find higher skill players, but even then, I don't know if finding a higher skill player in one of the roles is better than just maintaining and building the synergy that they have.
I mean, you already know that if BB left at the end of this year, the rest of the team probably wouldn't even be happy with that, like
probably not,
right? Like you got to assume, anytime one of those guys leaves, the other four members, they're really hoping that it's someone who can actually replace whoever they just got rid of, right? So like the chemistry, the relationships that they've built up over, years and years of playing with each other. Some of these guys, right? Like Caps and Mickey, those guys would play together for years,
forever.
Right? So I mean, you got to assume that those types of synergies, it's more than just on-screen synergy. It's or like in-game synergy, right? It's outside of the game too, right? That's such a big part of it as well.
Yeah.
So,
speaking of roster building synergy, how are we feeling about this dig roster?
Yeah. I mean, we've had our text combos about dig, right? They basically just did the opposite of G2. They just said fuck everything, and we're just gonna go grab the highest skilled player in each role that's available.
Doesn't this feel like a roster that would have been built like 4 years ago or something? You know what I mean?
This is a COVID area roster.
It really is. It's like there was a period of time where like every top roster was just like, how can we get the highest, or like who we think is like the best veteran in every role? How do we just put them all on a team? This feels exactly like that. To me, this dig roster feels like, okay, we tried to play the game. We tried to develop talent. We tried to bring in XU, who is going to be our franchise player. We tried to put good pieces around him. We tried to have a developmental bot lane. None of that worked. We want to make Worlds now. I think my take on this dig roster is that they're saying we haven't done anything in a minute that means anything. And my guess is there's some internal thing on their like management side where someone in management made a commitment to like making it to Worlds this year or something
by the end of 2024.
Yeah, and this is their bid for it, right?
Yeah.
I obviously I have no behind the scenes knowledge, so I don't know that for sure. But you don't kick basically your entire team to get Licorice, Spica, Jensen, Sven, and then I mean Isles is staying. But you don't kick the entire team, the entire like, you know, I don't even know if experiment is the right word, but you don't kick everyone to pick up 4 to 5 veterans, depending on how you look at it, just because you think that's the best direction for the like that's a play for Worlds. That's like, maybe we can contend for winning the split, and we need to get Worlds this year. You know,
it's Worlds or bust. It feels like with this roster, you know,
100%.
If they're going for small fixes, they basically slapped a Band-Aid on like an open heart wound, you know.
Yeah.
So they're going all in, as evidenced by who they picked up. But like, I don't know. I was kind of sad that, you know, Dove's gone. I thought Rich was okay. I mean, obviously XU as well. That whole situation is kind of like, you know, what's come out about that situation, how he was, you know, promised a spot on the team for the summer split.
The XU situation is shitty.
Yeah.
That sucks.
It's tough when you see, like, obviously Rich and Dove aren't homegrown talent, right? But like XU, you know, that guy's born and raised out here, you know, grew up on the North American servers, grew up, you know, probably his goal is obviously playing LCS.
Yeah.
Right. Just to kind of see that, you know, put to the side to add, you know, these vet guys, which at the same time, I feel like these vet guys shouldn't have been teamless in the first place.
Right.
So it's like a really weird middle ground where you're like, you're trying to empathize with the guys who got kicked, but then you're also like, this whole year we've been saying like, damn, like, why aren't these guys on teams? So, you know, like, we got what we wanted, but at what cost, you know?
I'm 100% on your side. Yeah, because clearly this dig roster isn't working the way they wanted it to. I actually think that it showed signs of life like towards playoffs this last split. And then I think if they had stuck with it, there's a chance that they could have done something. But for whatever reason they had behind the scenes, they decided it wasn't going to work. And exactly what you're saying, they now have they brought on 4 new guys who we've been saying, why are these guys teamless? So we get to have them in the league. And I don't even like hate the roster really.
Yeah.
It just still feels kind of bad.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't love the way it happened, but at the same time, I don't hate the roster. And it's kind of hype to have them all back in the league because I think they all deserve to be playing. I don't know.
It's tough. Like, you can't really just scrap a development project, you know? I mean, we can all agree that Dig was kind of like a development project. They're trying to see how things were going to go with the guys that they had.
Yeah.
And they scrapped it after one split, right? So we'll never know what the potential of that final team would be. But at the same time, we do get to see fun guys back in the split. Like Licorice, I don't get how that guy was teamless. I know that there's an influx of, like, you know, young top laner talents. But, you know, Spica as well. Spica's always been a solid jungler on any team that he's been on.
Yeah.
Right? Jensen, I mean, Dove was probably not even gone if Jensen didn't get dropped by Fly. I mean, that turnaround is so quick.
Yeah.
Right? But obviously they have Quad coming up for Fly, and that guy's also pretty disgusting from what I've seen and what I've heard about him.
That's another interesting move.
Yeah, and then we'll get to see Sven back in ADC. So it's tough because I thought Castle was decent as well, right? Is that that's IMT?
No, he was playing for IMT.
who's the
Rich?
No, who's the ADC for?
Oh, Tomo. Yeah.
I mean, he's kind of a smolder merchant, you know, at the start of the split. Yeah. But I'm glad that they kept Isles. I'm really glad that they kept Isles. I think Isles is one of the more underrated supports in the league.
I think the Tomo Isles bot lane was slept on that last split. I think they were actually probably part of it was they just had XU playing towards bot pretty much all the time. But I thought that they played pretty decent. And the nice thing Tomo, I think he landed on his feet and he's on DSG in
Oh, okay.
the NACL, which that's
Isn't
kind of
that where he
cool.
was before?
It, Loki might be. I don't
I th-
remember. I
I
think it might
think
be.
I think it is where he was before.
So he might be going back, but I like having DSG in the NACL, the disguised toast roster, and it's nice to see that Tomo is at least getting another like competitive spot to be on, because I
Mhm.
also thought that he had a good split. So it's nice that he's at least landing on his feet in some way.
Yeah.
Um, this dig roster, it's hard for me to like not be excited about it too, because it's kind of like Cloud9 Part 2 or like
Ye-
Cloud9B. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think Cloud9B is like a good way to put it.
Because they have Licorice, who is a long time, or not a long time, but you know, he established himself on that Cloud9 team that went to semifinals at Worlds,
Mhm.
you know, a few years back. Then Spica's never played. I don't think has ever played on Cloud9. Might have played on Cloud9 Academy. I don't really remember. Never played on Cloud9 in the LCS. But then they have Jensen, who's been a long time Cloud9 player. They have Sven, long time Cloud9 player,
Mhm.
and then they have Isles, who played on Cloud9 Academy for a while, and I think played in the lock-in tournament for Cloud9 at one point too. So they have like 4 out of the 5 guys being
Are
Cloud9
X.
players, and
Yeah.
then Spica, and I love Spica. You know, I think having Spica back in the league is fucking awesome. That
Yeah.
guy's great. I think he has turned into such a great NA jungler, and I wouldn't be surprised if he competes for being like a top 2 or 3 jungler in the league when he comes back. So it's hard for me to not be excited about this dig roster, but it also feels weird the way that it came together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it felt like it was put together so quick too,
Yeah.
you know, and it like they scrapped all those guys so fast and kind of out of nowhere.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see where this team's going to end up, right?
Yeah.
I think we can solidly project them in the top half of the league, but it's tough. It's tough at the same time because you have 100 Thieves who are going to be coming into their next split.
Yeah.
And also, it was Meech. It was Meech who was on DSG, not Tomo. So,
oh, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right.
But yeah, you have like, you know, obviously TL. TL looks solid at, oh, okay, maybe not solid. They looked okay at MSI.
They beat Fnatic.
They beat
take
Fnatic.
those?
I know.
That's the first time Fnatic's ever lost to another to an NA team in a best of series. In a best of series.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well then, yeah. I mean,
we take those.
Yeah. I think TL fairly represented NA at MSI. I think that's the best way to put it.
Yeah. Could have done better, but we still take it.
Yeah. Like Fly, I'm sure is looking to rebound. 100 Thieves are coming in with their same roster.
Yeah.
Looking for some revenge. We still have C9.
Yeah.
Right? So are they actually top 4 now that we're like
See, coming into this conversation, I was going to tell you that this dig roster is making Worlds for sure, because it just feels like the kind of roster that Jensen is going to take to Worlds. He's only ever missed out on Worlds one time, and it was with that one dig roster last year, I think, or 2 years ago. That was like
2
years ago, where it's like you can't really blame him. It wasn't really a roster set up for success. So this, like, on paper, this roster looks like one that Jensen is going to take to Worlds. You know, like I have a lot of faith in Jensen, particularly to play well in North America. And I really want to see Licorice do well too. Like, he's my favorite top laner. He might be my favorite player in the league. So it just looks like a roster that should be going to Worlds. But then you bring up all the other teams that they have to beat, and it's kind of hype because it's not obvious.
Yeah. I think any 4 of those 5. Well, who else is left? Shopify Rebellion.
Yeah.
IMT and
who did we not talk about so far? I almost said Evil Geniuses. Yikes. Who are we missing? Dig, Cloud9, 100 Thieves, TL, FlyQuest, IMT, Shopify. This is so cringe. Who are we missing? Why can't I?
Are we? That's 7, right?
Yeah.
Who's the final team?
Oh,
What?
NRG. God
Energy. Oh
damn
my
it.
god, dude. Oh my god.
You know why we forgot about them? Because they were terrible.
Yeah.
They did so bad at the end of the split. Okay.
Those guys made world's quarterfinals last year.
I
Holy shit. And
know.
we
What
forgot about them.
happened?
Oh my god.
Yeah. But you're right. It's sad that it kind of feels like we're gonna see like a top 6 bottom 2, you know,
mm-hmm.
in an 8-team league. I want to see IMT and Shopify do well, but when you look at their rosters compared to the 6 other rosters in the league, it's so hard. Even though NRG did so bad at the end of last split, they went to quarterfinals of Worlds last year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not comfortable saying that they're not going to compete for another World spot. You know?
I mean, they ran it back with pretty much the exact same roster, right?
Yeah, theoretically upgraded.
Yeah.
I mean,
Ignar or Hui for Ignar's.
Yeah.
On paper, I think the trade that you want.
Yeah, I would say so.
So, LCS is always so tough, and you can never really tell until things start going on. But we do have best of 3s, which I don't know if we talked about that before, but
let's talk about it now.
Yeah, I'm hyped. I'm excited for that. I think that's a really good change for the league. I think anytime you can be on par with like the Eastern leagues as far as like how your on stage practice goes, I think, by all means you should.
Yeah.
I guess LEC is kind of the exception, but they do have multiple splits, so they're in theory they're playing a similar number of games, I think.
Yeah. They're playing a lot of best of 3s and best of 5s too, except for the teams that don't make it. But when you have a single round robin best of 1, like that's only 9 games that you're playing best of 1s, and then the rest, like they have 3 splits, and the rest after that single round robin is all best of 3 or best of 5. So they're still playing a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As when you compare it to LCS, right? It's just whatever 16 games over the course of the whole split, and then you get the best of. This is a best of 3. It was best of 5s, right?
Yeah.
For playoffs, but yeah, it's just like I feel like the players don't get that same type of environment that all the other teams do, and it's nice that they're finally gonna switch over. And we'll see how that goes. But I'm pretty excited for that. I love best of 3s, in the LPL and LCK. So I'm just hyped to see more than one game per matchup, every time that these teams score off.
Yeah. It is interesting that it's a single round robin best of 3 and not double. So we're only going to see the best of 3 matchups one time each. But personally, I still think it's better. I would rather see a single round robin best of 3 than I would a double round robin best of 1. I just think that having the 3-game series rather than splitting off individual best of 1s just makes for a more competitive environment. And I guess we'll see if it works with viewership and if it actually turns out that way. But looking at it, that's how it feels to me. So I'm all for it as well. I think I'm really happy with the change. I'm super stoked about it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a welcome change. I think it was the consensus that that's what everyone wanted, right?
Yeah.
From the top down, players wanted best of 3s, fans wanted best of 3s. I know there's talk of like best of 2s, maybe.
Right.
But I think best of 3, just let it happen, let it ride, see how it plays out, and if it's bad, then just go back, right? But you never know until you try. So I'm excited for this change.
Me too. Because at minimum, you get the same number of games that we saw before, and at maximum, you're seeing more too. So it's sick. I think a lot of credit needs to go to Mark Z. I've seen some like threads online of people shouting him out, and I kind of want to jump on that bandwagon because he really seems to be a commissioner of the people, like he's just taking chances on the things that he's hearing that fans want. And like, I love that. It's so nice to like know that we have a commissioner that comes in, he knows what fans want, he's listening to what fans want, and then he's just giving it a shot. Even if it doesn't work out, at least we can say we tried. So it's super cool to see best of 3s coming in. I don't know if you've heard about all the NACL changes, but there's the NACL changes kind of go hard. Have
Really?
you heard about them at all?
I've seen I've seen threads on Twitter, but I haven't really read through them.
Okay. I don't know like the full extent of them, but from what I remember, it's Fearless now.
Oh, okay.
Which is sick. I don't think it was Fearless before, but it's Fearless now. So they're doing Fearless all the way through.
Uh-huh.
They're doing
You know
I
what?
don't
They
remember
they did Fearless in spring.
Okay, I
Yeah.
think that I think I remember that. But so they're keeping that, which is cool.
Uh-huh.
But then they also they one of the really cool things is that, do you know OTK? They're like it's a streamer group, I think.
Okay.
On
Wait,
Twitch.
I think I've seen their I think they do like VODs and stuff. Not VODs, but they like help. Actually, I have no idea.
I don't know. I don't know that much about it. I should know more, but I'm pretty sure it's a group of like content creators.
Okay.
Kind of like OTV, but it's a different group. It's OTK.
Okay.
They're coming in and they're partnering with an NACL team, and then if this one's so funny. If you follow Mark Z and Travis Gafford at all, they do a lot of content together.
Mhm.
Travis Gafford is super into Magic the Gathering, and he's super into Brandon Sanderson, and I guess Mark Z is too. Both of them are like avid readers of Brandon Sanderson books, and they talk about it all the time on their podcast.
Uh-huh.
And it was just announced that he is partnering with an NACL team. They've got Brandon Sanderson, this prolific author, to partner with with the NACL. I don't know if it's like with one org or if it's with like the whole
the
NACL as a whole. I don't know exactly how it's working, but OTK and Brandon Sanderson are partnering with the NACL this split, which is kind of sick, kind of cool.
Yeah, but yeah, Mark Z's I think he's been unreal as the commissioner. I mean, it's such a hard job. You have to please so many people, right?
Yeah.
There's the riot execs that you have to, you have to get over those hurdles, right? But then there's also the fans, right? And then there's also the main piece of the players and the orgs, right? So I think he's done a really good job of balancing everything, and he does deserve a lot of credit for what he's done for NACL and just LCS as a whole.
Yeah. Bridging the gap between all those pieces must be so hard.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think he's doing a really good job. We'll see how it turns out, but it feels good to be a fan right now.
Yeah, 100%. I think just in general, esports, it's good to be a fan. Like, even when there's no MSI, when there's less league, like I've started tuning into some of the VCT stuff. And that stuff, that's really entertaining as well. I don't get the game as well as League. Like, I'm amazed by, like, I've played Val a few times here and there, and I'm just amazed at like how they know all these angles and like where to throw their abilities and everything. Yeah. But it's entertaining to watch. Like, they get fired up, and I think a lot of the esports organizations throughout the world are doing a really good job at pushing content. They're doing a really good job at marketing their players, and they're creating a really good ecosystem of esports. And I think that's credit to the commissioners that are in charge of their respective leagues, and just, teams in general trying to build more of a relationship with their fans, making it more organic, which is really cool.
Yeah. No, I think we're seeing, I'm excited about the positive direction that I'm seeing from a lot of these leagues, which is hype.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of like changes in other leagues, we got LPL. LPL's already started, by the way.
Yeah.
And they're fully on Fearless now. Like,
oh, that's right. So they're playing Fearless like at the LPL level, right? Not even like that's crazy. And they changed up their format, right? So it's like 4 groups now.
Yeah.
Do you know how it works? Can you explain it better to me?
Yeah, I can try to give you a little rundown. So from what I understand, it's 3 groups of 4 and then 1 group of 5, and it's all like region based. So it's very similar to actual sports.
Oh, interesting.
Or at least like any major 4 sports league.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's mainly region based, right? Because China's huge and only certain teams have stadiums. So they kind of based it around that. I couldn't tell you the 4 groups off the top of my head. But it's like,
okay. There's 17 teams. It's fine.
yeah. It's something like the top 9 teams get a bye into playoffs.
Right.
or something like that, and then the bottom 8 like battle it out for like 3 spots or 2 spots. I don't know the exact number.
Yeah.
But they've completely changed the format where I think it's like the top 2 teams in each group make it, and then it's like there's some wild cards after. I could be
Yeah.
completely off on that, but I
No, I
know
think you're
there's
right.
there's some type of split because obviously they have to turn those 4 groups into one playoff pool.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, and then the fearless is like the biggest thing. So
It it's double round robin best of 3, right? Within each group.
yes, I
Okay.
think so. I think so.
Yeah. And
Um,
I think you're right. It's like top 9, so it's like the top 2 teams from 3 of the groups and then the top 3 from the 5 team group all get like a bye, and then the bottom 8 have to like play each other for the last cup, like I think
maybe
like 4 of
one.
them lose, or
Yeah,
like to get 4. I don't know. It's something like, I'd have to look at the format again, but I think you're right. It's something like that.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
regardless, LPL is always like the craziest playoff gauntlet where
Yeah.
you have to play so many best of fives just
You
to
have
like.
to be good.
Yeah. I think it's probably one of the most honest systems,
Yeah.
except for the fact that it's not double elim, but that would just be way too hectic. But it's always like a 10-team playoff. Um, but yeah, the fearless is like. The, I watched one occasional streams for like a couple of the matches.
Okay.
Um, and he's calling it like a soft fearless. I don't know what a hard fearless would be.
Is
um,
it is the difference like only the winning team has their picks banned and the losing team still gets them, or no?
no, so it's okay. So the best way I can describe it is
Yeah.
like obviously there's 10 bans, right, for
Yeah.
each game, and then you can't play the same champions that your team played
Okay.
any
Okay,
like
so
for the rest of the series.
maybe that's the difference, because I think in like a hard fearless,
Uh-huh.
neither team can play any of the champs that were played in the game, whereas in
Uh-huh.
this format it's you can only not play the champs that you already played.
Mm-hmm.
So you can play your opponent's draft, but you can't play your own draft for the rest of the series. So maybe that's the soft versus hard kind of comparison.
Yeah. And then like it's crazy along with bans too though. Like I didn't know that there's gonna be
Right.
bans. So like
That's a good point.
the
Yeah.
pools get they actually do get pretty whittled down by that third game. A lot of matches actually have gone to 3 games. I think the only one that wasn't was LNG last night,
Okay.
which shout out the boys.
Let's go. I love the jersey. I was
Oh
gonna
yeah.
mention that. I forgot to say something. That looks
Dude,
sick.
yeah, that one website that went around during MSI, I think it's like Leon something.
I remember seeing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bought a bunch of stuff from them. It came like a month later, but it was really, really cheap. And it's like pretty high quality stuff. Like this is a nice little dry fit style jersey. I got
Dub. You got this. You got the scout, didn't you?
yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. But I think that LNG series is like one of the only 2-0s that I've seen so far.
Wow.
So, I think the level of competition, or at least the champion pools that you're seeing, are way different.
Yeah.
I know yesterday Weibo played, and we need to talk about that Weibo roster in a sec.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
like Light played like Callista, Ezreal, and Draven. So like already you're not seeing that Lucian Nami, right?
Yeah.
You're not seeing like Zeri.
Well,
Lulu.
okay. Hold on, because I was gonna ask you how you're feeling about Fearless, because I actually haven't watched any of the LPL games yet. I just haven't had the time to.
Uh-huh.
But I saw a screenshot from a game 3 that in the game 3 was Zeri Lulu versus Lucian Nami.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's terrible.
Yeah.
I don't want to see that in my game 3 Fearless. But do you feel good about the Fearless draft overall?
I kind of like it. It's definitely
Okay.
it's going to take some time to get used to, but I love that you're like, no matter what, you're not going to see a player on the same champion more than once. Right?
That is nice. You're not seeing 10 Cassante games in a row.
Yeah. And then to go along with bans, right? I mean,
right.
That in itself is like you're limiting the champion pool a ton.
Yeah.
But I'm still waiting to see this. But what I really want to see is like some crazy picks come out.
Me too.
You know, and the thing is,
Yeah.
like, I'm pretty sure they move away from Fearless once they hit playoffs, because obviously it'd be pointless to practice your on stage playoff when Worlds is not going to be on Fearless.
Right.
Um, but just as an experiment right now, I really like it. I think it's going to be really cool to see what other teams start to pick up.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think it's still in its baby stages right now. Like, this is the first time we've seen it on a major four or four major one of the four major regions,
Yeah.
right? But I think LPL is probably the best place to do it. There's so many one tricks out there. There's so many guys that have like single champion mastery, right? But
Yeah.
obviously they have other champs in their pool. But I think we're going to see some pretty crazy picks start getting pulled out. And
I'm
yeah.
curious to see what happens when we get into Worlds and it's not Fearless, and LPL has gone from a Fearless normal regular season through not Fearless playoffs and then into Worlds. If there is like a significant drop in the LPL level of play or something, I think that'll be a really bad look for Fearless. I think
Mm-hmm.
people will attack Fearless specifically. So part of me kind of wishes that everything would be Fearless or nothing would be, like just at the top level,
Mm-hmm.
just so that we don't have it get scapegoated.
Yeah.
Or if it really is a problem and it drops the level of play, maybe it'll be good to know that. But I don't know. I just, part of me wishes that either the global ecosystem would go Fearless or no one
Just
would,
not.
and then it would just like come in later maybe or something. I don't know. I'll be interested to see what happens at Worlds, to see if it has, because it could have a positive effect too. It
Yeah.
could be that
Yeah.
they come in and they have way more flexibility and the LPL stomps everyone. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious to see what happens when we get to Worlds.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say, like, on the other side of that coin, like, what happens if it's a world's final and it's LPL versus LCK, and LPL just pulls out a bunch of random pocket picks that they practice
Yeah.
throughout the year, right? I
Yeah.
mean, going back to MSI, like, that's basically how Gen.G beat BLG,
Right. The
right?
Nidalee.
With that, it was like Nidalee was huge, but the Karthus in game one for Canyon.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
I forgot about
like
that. Yeah.
that was like, I don't think that was on anybody's radar, right?
Mm.
And that was
Unless
all
you're
orchestrated.
LS.
Yeah, yeah. I think that was like all orchestrated by Canyon himself, right? It
Yeah.
was like, I was watching a video on Gen.G's run, and they had some of their voice comms, and he's like, "Wait, isn't this just a Karthus angle? Like, shouldn't I just play Karthus?" And it's because he thought
Crazy.
that they were going to be banning out Nidalee, right? So the
Mm.
Nidalee was like, it was like a two-step thing, He's like, "Oh yeah, I'll play the Nidalee, looks super fucking sick on Nidalee, and then I'll pull out Karthus, in the grand final."
Giga
Crazy,
Chad.
yeah.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe Fearless will bring out some flexibility for LPL, like you were saying.
I hope so.
Yeah,
Do you want to talk about this Weibo roster? You want to
dude.
give me your
Yeah,
take?
yeah. I mean, okay, so I haven't really watched them at all. I know their match against Nip was kind of like underwhelming.
They lost, right?
Yeah, they did lose.
Yeah.
And then they narrowly beat someone last night.
What
It
and
was
what
IG,
what is their roster now? It's Breathe,
Tarzan,
Tarzan,
Xiaohu,
Xiaohu, Light,
and
Crisp.
Crisp. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Light looks disgusting. When
I
they played,
swear that guy slept on. I
yeah,
swear that guy slept on.
dude. I mean,
Yeah.
I watched some clips. This guy had like 3 deaths in 3 games yesterday in their 3 game series. He went
Jesus.
deathless in both their wins.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
while putting up some silly kill numbers. Um, but yeah, like that team, I think is just gonna need some time. They're
Yeah.
obviously a pretty stacked group of guys. I don't have much else to say right now.
Okay.
Yeah, honestly, that's gonna be me for like the first few weeks here of LPL.
It's hard
There's
to know.
Yeah, there's a lot of
Yeah.
different rosters now. Like IG basically completely scrapped their roster.
Yeah.
LNG picked up some new guys, but they haven't seen the stage yet. Mark went over to WE.
Right.
Um, Yeah, just changes kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
Nothing
The
really with the top teams though.
the only thing we know is that LNG is the best and is going to win the split hands down.
Yeah,
That's all.
yeah, exactly. I'm glad we're on the same page for that, right?
Scout is our personal lord and savior and will redeem the LPL.
He's gonna take over Faker, bro. Just watch. Just watch.
He's gonna go to Worlds. He's gonna run the gauntlet of LCK teams.
Yeah. He's gonna win the
dub.
LPL, beat every single player over there, then he's gonna come back to LCK, start a new dynasty. He's gonna win Asian games, so then he gets his military exemptment.
Good.
And then he's just gonna come to LCS and smurf on everyone over there. And he'll finish off in LEC. Yeah. Just the old scout timeline, right?
The old scout timeline. Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I really don't have much else to say for LPL other than like the new changes that have come out, and it's gonna be really exciting to see how this all plays out. It sucks that we're not gonna get to see every team play each other with the Fearless, right?
That's definitely an interesting change to have the groups in a regular season.
Yeah, I could be completely off on that. Maybe there's going to be some like intra-group play, but from what I understand, I'm pretty sure it's all just within the group.
Yeah. So it's just playoffs at that point.
Yeah.
When you get to see the between groups happen.
Yeah. So we'll see how that all plays out. But there's some groups that haven't even started play yet.
Okay.
Like IG and Weibo have both played 2 matches, and it's the classic LPL scheduling. Yeah. Right. BLG hasn't seen a game. JDG hasn't seen a game.
Yeah.
So
we're gonna get to the end of the season, and some teams are gonna be done. Other teams will have played 1 match.
Yeah. Just the classic LPL. Yeah. But yeah. Go ahead.
Real quick.
Yeah.
LNG picking up Shadow, I thought was kind of cool. I wish I knew a little bit more about Shadow. I know he started out on Mad Lions in the LEC. I don't know. Was he playing in like a lower division in the LPL before going to the LEC, or is he straight up just an LEC?
I think,
or like
I think he's
player?
Just straight up LEC to LPL. But
that's what I thought. Yeah.
I don't actually know too much about him either. He's he's a jungler, right?
Yeah.
That's all I know.
He's had a really strange career because he started out on Mad Lions, and I think he only played on the Mad Lions in the LEC. And then he went over to a bottom team in the LPL and has played on bottom teams in the LPL a little bit for a while. And then I think he was gone for a little bit. And now he's back, and LNG just picked him up underneath Weiwei.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, Weiwei.
Yeah. So I don't expect him to see playtime over Weiwei, I don't think. But it's kind of cool to see LNG pick him up. I don't know. I don't really know how I feel about it. He's had such a weird career.
Yeah. Okay. It looks like he went from Mad to LGD and then NIP last year.
Right.
And then I think he was just like stuck on NIP, maybe.
That was when NIP was not very good, right?
No, yeah. That was like pre-rookie coming back.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just interesting to see like an LEC player go to the LPL. I don't know. I guess it hasn't like changed that much because he was on NIP, he was on LGD, and now he's just like, I don't know if he's like academy for LNG or if he's like on the main roster.
Yeah, I think he's main roster, just on the bench.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I feel like LPL teams carry so many players. Like YSKM is still on the roster for IG, but he's probably not going to see any playing time this year. Like, there's just a bunch of random guys all over the place where they're just on the team, but
they're just collecting players at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't have anything to say. I don't think he's gonna play over Weiwei at all unless something crazy happens.
Yeah.
But I think for LNG is more just insurance, right?
Right.
So
yeah,
there's just so many players and teams in the LPL. It's like it gets dizzying trying to keep up with everything that goes on.
So many changes too.
Yeah.
How about the LCK? We haven't really touched.
Yeah.
Has there been changes announced?
No, everything's still pretty much the same.
I want to say Fiesta is in an ERL now or something.
Yeah, I know there's like some players from some of those bottom teams, like Nongshim dropped a few guys. I think
Yeah.
Bro dropped a few guys. But I think it's gonna be the same, like top 5, bottom 5. Obviously, Kwandong is gonna finish first, and then you got GEN.G, T1. I think Hanwha Life is probably the 4th best, and then it's like a 2-way tie between for 5th and 6th between D plus and KT. I think it's more or less the same as last year. I think Nongshim is still going to be at the bottom. I think Bro's still going to be at the bottom.
Yeah.
DRX also.
I can't wait to see LNG play Kwangdong in the World Championship finals this year.
I know. I'm
so
stoked. I'm stoked.
Yeah.
It's going to be LNG. They're going to 3-0 Dig in the semifinal.
Wow. In the semifinal. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then it's going to be Kwandong. They're going to take a close 5-game series against BDS.
Right.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I think you should put money on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
Betting, man.
And then, it's going to be LNG Kwandong in the final. And, I'm happy with whoever wins there.
Worlds is in London this year, right?
It is, yeah.
Am I right about that? Okay.
Yeah.
We should talk about Worlds finals at some point offline because
100%.
part of me really wants to fly to London.
dude, that would be unreal.
Yeah. Well, we'll sidebar. We'll talk about that later.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but no, I'm stoked to watch Kwangdong play LNG in the World Finals. I think that's going to be a great matchup.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But realistically, Kwandong. I think Kwandong is like the bubble team. They're gonna be the gatekeeper of. I think it's gonna be them and Liv Sandbot or FearX.
Right.
Those two are gonna be like the 2 bubble teams. Then you got a bottom 3.
They're like you must be this tall to ride.
Yeah.
Like you must be able to beat us to get to the other teams.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think it's pretty much going to play out the same way. It honestly will probably just end up being GEN.G T1 in the final again.
That's a crazy prediction, but I think you might be onto something.
Right? At what point is that no longer like it's just a given? I feel like at this point it's just a given.
Yeah.
But who knows?
Crazy fun fact about GEN.G real quick.
Uh-huh.
I'm pretty sure KT is the only team to take them in a best of series this year. I think KT is the only team that's beat GEN.G in a best of series so far.
Really?
I'm pretty sure that's the case. I would have to double check, but I want to say I saw that online.
I mean, that sounds right because they went undefeated at MSI.
Yeah. They
didn't lose in spring playoffs at all.
No, I think, and they were going in, they were 15-1?
15-1, yeah.
And I think it was just KT.
It was just KT, huh?
Yeah. So who's the real MSI champions? Is it GEN.G or is it the team that beat GEN.G?
Well, if that's the case,
question.
then I think it was IG versus KT because IG beat BLG actually in LPL. So
we're in the degeneracy part of it.
Yeah, this is some brain rot activity right now. Holy freaking Turkish Quandale Dingle, Skibbity toilet, what the Sigma.
Oh, okay.
level 10 yacht.
I'm like so out of touch that I don't even get like half these references. That's how bad it is, man.
I'm glad that you don't get these references. I'm gonna be honest.
Some of them I only get because I've heard people like meme on them before, but let's just move on quickly.
Yeah.
Just go next.
Big congrats to Chovy. Finally got over the individual hurdle. Oh my gosh. I was pretty hyped.
Yeah, that deserves us talking about it a little bit. We finally got to see GEN.G in a finals, and we finally get to see Chovy take a title, which I mean, what does that do for his legacy now,
Oh,
right?
his
Like,
legacy is gonna go crazy. If he
yeah,
becomes the first, well, obviously he's the core piece of Gen.G. If
yeah,
Gen.G becomes the first team to Golden Road,
yeah. That's what I was going to bring up is we're looking at like a very realistic Golden Road angle now, right?
yeah. Oh,
Because
super realistic. Like,
they already took LCK. They just won MSI. They beat BLG 3-1 twice in
yeah,
that tournament. They didn't lose a like the only best of fives, no, best of series that they've lost the entire year so far was to KT that one time, like we were
yeah,
just saying. So yeah, it's like if they become if Chovy takes his first international title into straight into the first ever Golden Road, oh man, it's gonna go crazy.
yeah, yeah. This dude's looking unreal right now. Like, he actually looks cracked out of his mind.
Yeah.
The rest of the team too,
Oh,
falling in place. Like, Canyon looks disgusting. Pays looks disgusting.
I
Lehens looks insane. Keen is just doing Keen like, they have no weak points on this roster.
I hate how often I have to give you credit on this podcast. It sucks out of my soul every time that I have to say that you might have been right about Pays. I hate that I had to give you credit for TL winning the LCS. I hate having to give you credit for Pays. Like 28 kills
In a game, in a
in
single
one
game.
game.
Yeah. And
I,
a penta kill to
and a
cap it off.
penta.
You know,
For anyone who didn't hear about that at MSI, the previous, I think it was international game, like period, kill record was 18, and I think it was Uzi, unless I'm misremembering. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure it was 18,
uh-huh.
and he ended one of their games. I don't even remember which
It
game
was
it
game
was.
2. Yeah,
Yeah, game 2 of the finals.
yeah, the finals.
Yeah, game 2 of the finals. 28 kills and a penta.
Yeah, yeah, not a big deal. He was spoon fed a lot of those kills by Lehens,
But come on,
but
man.
still, you know.
One of the things that I've realized about like professionally, just league in general, is
Uh-huh.
that there are players who get spoon fed kills, but there's some amount of credit that has to be given for the players being willing to accept the spoon feed.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there's so many players where they can be spoon fed and they just don't accept it. And it just like, it doesn't work out. You know, you can have parts around you that are working so hard to set you up, and you have to be a good enough player to take advantage of that, you know?
Yeah.
So I think you're totally right that Lehens is spoon feeding him, that the pieces around him are insane. But at some point, you have to be a player that can step up and take the responsibility and actually do something with the support too. So yeah, no discredit to Pays. That guy's insane.
Yeah. I mean, the one argument that I had for Pays is that the team around him is a lot better than any other ADC, right?
Yeah.
We had I was going back and forth with this one guy about Pays versus Jackie Love, right? And you know, I know Jackie Love's an insane player, right?
Yeah.
I understand his peak. Pays just has a better team around him, and he is trying to discredit, you know, like that fact. And I was like, well, blah 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 blah, blah. And like we'll see at the end of MSI, right? And
we saw,
right?
Yeah.
Like,
it is to that guy's credit, it is a tough argument to make, right? Because clearly Jackie Love historically has been an insane player, and I think this split and this tournament, maybe, I don't know, arguably at MSI, but this past like this year so far, he's been having like a career defining year as well. Like he was playing insane in the LPL, and so I think like he deserves all the credit that he's getting, and he is an insane AD carry. And also, part of it being a team game is that you have pieces around you, and it's how you mesh with the pieces around you, and it's how you know, are able to accept the support from the pieces around you. So the players on your team are not a non-factor.
Yeah.
So it's a tough argument because maybe Jackie in this same team would be even better than Paises or something. And so it's tough to know, but I don't know. Like, you got to give credit to Pays. You have to give credit to the man.
Yeah, and I think he really showed out because he was getting dogged on a lot just throughout this whole split. You know, going into MSI, people were, I want to say they were underrating him, honestly. right? I mean, the
he was
same way,
definitely seen as the worst piece of Gen.G, I would
yeah,
say. Yeah.
right? Like the same way that people like me were probably well, I'm not saying I was underrating Jackie Love, right? But like I feel like Pays deserved, or I felt like Pays deserved a lot more credit than what he was
Yeah.
being given, and I'm glad that he showed out. And this guy is undefeated in championships since his debut.
He's won every championship that he's been a part of.
He's never lost a championship match. Yeah, that's pretty crazy to
Wow.
me. He's like 5-0 or 4-0.
Thanks, Chovy.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
But
kind of.
I mean, yeah. Chovy is a main. You know, he's a pretty
Yeah.
big factor in all that, right? But you know, 2 or 3 LCK titles or 3 LCK championships, 1 MSI championship, and he's won every single one. And this guy is 18.
Unreal.
Like that's the type of start to a career that like Faker was dreaming of, you know?
Right?
Right?
That's like a Faker-esque start to a career. Let's not get too antsy about comparing Pays to Faker.
I know.
But yeah, no, that is unreal though. That is
like
insane.
that. Those type of stats, like those are some Michael Jordan numbers, you know?
Yeah.
Right. But
yeah, let's do that. Let's move on from comparing teams to T1 and Faker, and let's straight up just compare people to Michael Jordan. Let's start comparing people to just some of the best athletes of all time. Period. That's a great idea.
Hey, esports
I'm
players are athletes too, bro.
I don't disagree. But I'm still gonna support you in this endeavor and take a step back and let you talk.
Hey, all I'm saying is both of those guys are undefeated in finals. So I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
But yeah, Gen.G is looking scary. They look very innovative. They look like they know how to play their style of game.
Yeah.
And they look like they're just the team to beat this year. They're this year's JDG, and I think they're even more dominant than JDG on like multiple levels. So it's kind of scary.
That's a scary prospect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, okay, the thing that's crazy is Kanavi better than Canyon? You know, like that's a question that I've always kind of wondered because Kanavi was chosen for World Games over Canyon last year, right? But Canyon,
he was probably better than him last year.
Yeah, right.
Kanavi
like,
on JDG, I think, was better than Canyon on D plus.
Right, like you can't just not pick Kanavi after he won LPL and MSI, right?
I think so. I think that's right. Yeah,
but it's like after watching Canyon, bro, this guy looks. Obviously, I've always known that he was disgusting, but like on an even better team than what he's been on, he looks scary.
This is the part of Gen.G that like people haven't been talking about as much too. Everyone is really excited about Chovy, rightfully so. It's fucking hype. It's awesome. But let's talk about the career that Canyon has put together, right? Like
he's won everything now.
I mean, he's never been outside of the LCK, but he's won a number of domestic titles. He's now won MSI. He's won Worlds. Like his resume is nuts. I mean, I think he's like best jungler of all time, like potential. You know, his career isn't even over yet.
Yeah,
but he's already like putting his name up there for sure. I mean, like. I think there's a lot of people who would consider him the best jungler in the world right now. And I think he's coming for the best jungler of all time title.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I mean, I think a lot of credit is due to Gen.G as a whole, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's focused a lot on Chovy, right? Everyone else is looking really good.
Yeah.
I think like if you go piece by piece, those players stack up against anyone else in the world.
100%.
You know?
100%.
And that's scary. That's a scary prospect because obviously Gen.G, you have to target Chovy in some ways, but then what? Everyone else just pops off, right?
Yeah.
It's a scary team to have to play against, especially when they're so patient and they're so good with their macro. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. It's a scary team. I would not want to have to play those guys on any day, even on their worst.
I was really doubtful of Gen.G coming into MSI. I wasn't predicting them to win. I just didn't have faith in a Chovy roster actually getting to a final and then winning it. But now that they won MSI in the fashion that they did, it's making me wonder if we're like witnessing history as it's being made. You know, like part of me now that they've won MSI is like pretty on board with the Golden Road angle. You know, and it makes me think like, A, what happens if this team wins World, and B, what happens if they don't, right? Like, what happens next year in both those scenarios? If they win Worlds, do they stay together? They're like
you have to run it back.
You have to, right? If you Golden Road, who are you upgrading?
Yeah, exactly.
what change? Unless there's a player that wants to be off, unless you've completed the Golden Road with issues on the team and people want out, there's no reason to make a change. So I would think if they Golden Road, then Gen.G sticks together for another year, and maybe we start seeing like a new era of dominance where it's just Gen.G era. Maybe that's speculation for a long time coming, but what happens if they don't win Worlds? You know, let's say they've already won the first split of LCK. They won MSI. Let's say they win this next split of the LCK. Let's say they win Summer, and then they fall short at Worlds. What do you do? Because JDG broke up after they missed the Golden Road.
Yeah.
Does Gen.G do the same thing?
Right. That's so tough too, because like for JDG, I think that was all because of contract costs, right? Like,
right.
I think Knight and 369 were just way too expensive.
Yeah, and Ruler probably, right?
Yeah, I think Ruler was probably taking up the brunt of that, their cap space.
Yeah,
but like, you have to run it back, right? Like, even if you lose, I feel like you have to run it back.
I feel like you do,
because who are they going to replace? Like,
I don't know.
Right?
That's the thing.
Like, they've tried basically every other player that's in the LCK,
every other top player.
Yeah, except for like any of the T1 guys, right? Who knows? Like, do we start seeing some crossover between T1 and Gen.G players?
Man, that would be crazy,
right? Like,
because like Gen.G they're holding on to Chovy for as long as they can, right? Like
him and Pay. I think him like it's got to be Canyon, Chovy, Pays are like the guys that you would want to hold on long term, because I know Keen and Lehens are older.
That's what I would. Yeah.
Right.
I think that's right. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
What happens if like Ruler wants to come back? Do you think that would ever happen?
I don't think that they drop Pays for Ruler though.
I think you might be right. I think they might just
at this
hedge
point
their bets on Pays.
Right. But what if like Carrier wants out of T1? Then do you replace Lehens? Or like what if Zeus wants out?
Yeah.
What if the Shy is like, you know what, fuck it, I'm coming back to Korea?
No. You say, get the hell out of here. Don't come back.
Yeah.
I love the Shy, but please God, no. Actually, that would be so fucking entertaining. That would be so Omega entertaining to watch.
That would be crazy.
To have the Shy, Canyon, Chovy, Pays, Lehens, or even just like the Shy and Chovy on the same team. That would be so sick.
Yeah.
God.
Regardless, though, it's like, I don't know. I think this team could go down in history, but all of it's just speculation until Worlds comes, right?
Yeah.
Like, what if they don't win Summer, but then they end up winning Worlds? Would that not just be like the saddest thing?
I was thinking about that. That would be so sad. That would be, Imagine losing the Golden Road because you didn't win one of your domestic splits.
That'd be like, I don't even know what to make of that.
That's going to happen. Now that we've talked about it, that's what's going to happen this year.
Yeah. T1's going to finally beat them.
Yeah.
Or maybe, who knows? Well,
I'm
going to say it, but you're going to hate me for saying it. I think Kwandong has a chance.
Dude, shut up. Shut up. It's LNG. LNG are transferring to the LCK.
Oh, yeah.
Take down Gen.G.
It's going to be a full team trade, actually. LNG's going to fully swap players.
Yeah.
So it's going to be KDF, but it's going to be like KDF Scout and KDF Zika.
I hate you. I hate you so much. Okay.
All right. But yeah, it's been a while since we've gotten to talk about League just at all. You know, we both missed a good amount of MSI, so I'm glad that we got to finally catch up. And,
me too. Yeah.
You know, MSI was super entertaining. I think we finally got the best on action that we've been like craving since the start of since the inception of our podcast.
Yeah.
We're just like everything was like, okay, but we'll see at an international what happens. You know, like every time we would talk about anything, that's how it end up, and we finally did.
We'll see what happens at MSI.
Yeah. You know, like. Yeah, you know, TL's looking really good, but you know, whatever. We'll see how they look at MSI.
Let's wait till MSI.
Yeah. And so we waited, and I was pretty happy with what happened. You know, I thought we got a really good, entertaining tournament. PSG, you know, came out and upset Fly.
Bro, that's crazy. They went 3-2 with BLG.
I know.
Are you kidding me?
I know. That was crazy. I was watching that one live. And I was like, wait a sec.
Wait, what is happening?
We're going to Silver Scrapes, and that because it was that game and the T1 G2 game. I think we're on the same day, and I was just like, "Yo, what is happening right now?" Because all I got was Fnatic GEN.G 3-0, and then TL Top Esports 3-0 like the day before. I was like, "Oh, it's just gonna be another day of 3-0s," and then boom, two games that go to Silver Scrapes. I was like,
two absolute bangers.
These were not the two teams that I was expecting to go Silver Scrapes, but hey, I was happy. With it. That was super entertaining.
Mad props to PSG. Good stuff.
Oh yeah. Mad props to TL, taking back some of that NA pride with Fly getting kicked out. Yeah.
Man, I was so sad and disappointed when Fly lost. And then having TL beat Fnatic in a best of 5 was so like, oh man, it was so nice to see.
Yeah,
it was so hype. Oh,
yeah, that was so huge for it. And then TL even took a game off T1, right?
Right.
I thought they actually could have won that series too, which is crazy.
Yeah. Like, insane.
If you go back and watch those games, it was just a few mistakes here and there that screwed them over.
Yeah,
I mean the Samira pick. I thought that was such a good pick at the time. I don't know shit about draft compositions. I don't know if that was actually a good pick, but seeing it,
looks cool.
It looked really cool, right? I'm glad that Jan's finally getting some more credit too.
The cool thing too is that now all those TL players can say that they've beat Faker, or beat T1, which is just like, it's one of those things where it's just like, as an NA player specifically, they're gonna remember that for the rest of their careers, and some of them like already have some level of that, like they have Impact and Core JJ on the team. So it's like
Core beat Faker in a world final.
Impact... So some players have that already, but like Jan, APA, Umpty,
even Umpty, Umpty, he can't say he got to beat Faker too many times, even while he was in LCK playing that dude all the time. So
right, and in an international best of series, that's sick. Yeah, that's hype.
Yeah, even if it was just a game,
Yeah,
take those.
And NA doesn't take too many games internationally, so we take those.
Yeah, all day we take those. Usually it's just some West on West Civil War action, but to finally get one, get some off an Eastern team.
Yeah, even good. One game.
Yeah,
dub.
Take those. Take those. But yeah, MSI was super fun. We didn't get to talk too much about it, but I'm glad we got to catch up.
Yeah. One last thing. Speaking of PSG minor regions, that's going to be my segue for this topic. You see all the VCS stuff?
Oh my god, dude! Half their league is just wiped off the face of Earth, bro.
What's happened to the league?
Yeah, I don't know.
They completely permanently banned one of the orgs. Did you see that?
I didn't see that. I just saw I saw the timelines of the suspensions for like multiple players, and they're like 36 months, like 18 months, 24 months, and I was like, dude, that's like 3 whole years, bro.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Dude, like, I swear that if any single one of the players that got banned for any amount of time in this scandal are never going to see pro play again.
Yeah.
How do you get banned for, like, even if you're like, I think one of the two of the guys got like 7-month bans or something, even like a 7-month ban, being out of competitive for 7 months sometimes just means the end of your career without a ban.
Mm-hmm.
But then you're also associated with a huge cheating scandal.
Yeah.
And some of these guys are banned for, like you said, 3 years.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think you have a career after that. That might as well be a permanent ban. Like, that,
Yeah.
maybe you come back to a lower tier later, but I don't think those guys come back to VCS ever.
Oh, it's going to be really hard for those guys to find teams just with the stigma around them. You know,
Yeah.
like you said, like it's one thing to not be in esports for like even 6 months, 4 months, 5 months at a time, right? Like you do fall out of shape. You know, like
Yeah.
it's not physical shape like in normal sports, but you don't become like you lose your connection to the meta, you lose connection to like on stage gameplay, and then to add on top of that, just the icing on the cake, being known as a part of a pretty bad betting scandal, match fixing scandal. Like that's just the cherry on top. Like I'm pretty sure these guys are never going to see any form of competitive.
No,
which is it's sad, but like at the same time, like you just can't be doing that, you know?
I think any of the guys, whether they got permanently banned or just like a couple months ban or like a couple years ban, I don't think any of them are going to have an easy time of coming back and probably will never see pro play again. And then I don't know what happened with that one org. I haven't dug into them at all, but they had like their manager and like a bunch of behind the scenes people all get permabanned, and then the entire org just got permabanned, and I think from like Riot Esports or something. Like they're just gone. So I don't know. The one that's really sad to me is GEN.G. I don't know if you know who GEN.G is, but he was on it was the Fongvu Buffalo, and then it was the Saigon Buffalo, and they took over for GAM at an MSI event 2 years ago or something, like, or a couple years ago. I don't remember exactly. I think it was like in the COVID era, and like a little bit after. There was some conflict that GAM had during one of the MSI tournaments, and maybe at Worlds too, and they couldn't play. And so the Saigon Buffalo, who were the second place team, went and played for the VCS, and they were a super fun team to watch. And they actually like did some damage, which was really fun. And GEN.G was part of that, and he was just like a really fun person to watch. And I think he got hit with a 3-year ban, and that's
oh wow, yeah. I mean, yeah, it's sad. It's sad seeing like some of these guys who've been in the VCS for so long get mixed in with this, and like you said, that one org must have just been orchestrating all of it. If all their personnel also got banned, it must have been like every time we play you guys, like, hey,
we're fixing,
which is that it's sad.
Not a great look,
but that's just like not the best look for sure. But I guess that's just the nature of esports and the betting world that we've kind of come to, right? It's crazy.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, 3 years and permabans. I don't think your career is going to recover after that, which is
luck, brother.
Which is tough. Yeah, and you brought up like what's even going to happen to the VCS, right? Like, I don't know. I mean, yeah, time will tell. But I think GAM didn't look that bad.
Yeah,
at MSI.
They beat Loud 2-0.
They beat. Yeah, I mean they're beating other minor regions,
even with like, subs, which is wild.
Yeah. I mean that's credit to Levi and Kiaya, all those guys, right? But I think at their peak, some of the best guys in the VCS, they can compete on an international level.
Levi was in the LCS for a while. Yeah. He played for 100 Thieves at one point, so
got it. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, we'll see what happens at the VCS, but you can already tell that the level of competition is probably going to go down. But who knows? Maybe it's already down with all the match fixing.
Maybe it'll get better. Maybe they've cleaned it up a little bit and it'll be better.
Yeah. But, you know, I don't have much
neither.
else. I think well, all the leagues are going to start kicking back up here. I can't believe we're in June.
I know. Yeah.
We started this in one J month, and 6 months later, when we're in the
We've been
next
doing
J
this
month.
for 6 months. That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty crazy. It's been a wild ride so far, but it's been
Shout
super
out
fun.
everyone for the support. We appreciate it a lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it's why we keep doing this. Obviously, I mean, we're doing this because we enjoy doing it, but you know, the support helps too. And yeah, it's just fun talking about League.
It's just a
you
good
know,
time.
like it is just a good time. You know, it's fun watching League. It's fun playing League. It's fun talking about League.
I'm gonna be so honest. I like after MSI ended, I was kind of in a esports slump. I was like, man, there's like no league going on, and then I was thinking about it, and I was like, like, am I even like? I was kind of feeling burnt out, and then I started seeing all like the new stuff that was coming up on Twitter, and I was thinking about recording the podcast and like just talking about the stuff that I had seen, and I was like, I was back in it immediately. I was like, never mind.
Yeah,
I'm in it. We're in. I'm so stoked for the LCS to start up. I'm so stoked for the LEC to start up. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, there's definitely that period after an international tournament where you're just like, all right, you know, like,
yeah,
we're done. We're, you know, like that's gone and done. But then it kicked back up so quick. So it's like, boom, you're right back into it. And it's like, I can't just ignore the LPL going on right now. You know, like I can't just ignore, you know, changes in the LCS. And yeah, I think that's what's great about esports. It's very much a year-round sport, and the breaks are nice enough where you can take a nice little break and be okay.
Yeah.
You know, you don't miss out on too much.
Definitely a year-round esport, especially when you're the only League of Legends esports podcast brought to you by the fans for the fans, covering all 4 major regions every week, baby.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. LNG, baby. Let's go,
no
LNG.
Sleep.
Wait, that wasn't part of the script.
That was not part of the script, but I appreciate the plug.
Who needs sleep, bro? I got the LPL. I'm nocturnal.
I'm nocturnal. Just inject that straight into my veins. I don't need caffeine.
Yes,
all I need is LNG dubs. All I need is KDF clean sweeps.
Oh yeah, it's coming. It's coming. You guys are gonna be mad you didn't hop on the train.
You're telling me.
I'm just saying. Yeah, KDF is gonna take it all this year. You heard it here first. Anyways, follow us on all socials. We got Instagram. We got Twitter.
TikTok.
We got TikTok. We got Snapchat. Psych. We don't have Snapchat. We got everything else, though. We got YouTube. This is where you're probably seeing this. And obviously, we have all the major podcasting platforms. Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Those are the only 2 I can think of off the top of my head. But others. Yeah, Pandora, if you're using that. SoundCloud. I don't think we're on SoundCloud. Yeah, iHeartRadio. Yeah. Come find us on there. But thanks for listening, guys. And we'll see you guys
next week.